So, you know that feeling? You are just completely exhausted. You've taken a break, maybe even went on a week-long vacation, completely disconnected from your inbox. But somehow, that burnout, it just lingers. It leaves you feeling like your internal battery is perpetually stuck at, I don't know, 25%, no matter how many hours of sleep you get. It's incredibly frustrating, right? You do everything you're supposed to do to rest, but you still wake up feeling like you're running on fumes. Okay, let's dive right into this. Why exactly does that happen? Well, what if the problem isn't actually physical fatigue at all? What if treating your exhaustion with just more sleep is kind of like trying to fix a complex software bug by simply turning your monitor off and on again? It just doesn't work. Today, we're going to look at a hidden psychological drain that rest alone simply cannot fix. We're going to uncover exactly why your battery refuses to charge and, more importantly, how to finally plug it back in. Section 1. The burnout illusion. Let's start by clearing up a major misconception about our daily energy levels, because getting this wrong is exactly why so many of us stay exhausted. We often throw around the words fatigue and burnout in everyday conversation, like they mean the exact same thing, but they are fundamentally different. Fatigue is your standard physical or mental tiredness. You work hard in the yard or study for a long exam, you get tired, you sleep, and boom, you wake up refreshed. It resolves with rest. Burnout, on the other hand, is a state of chronic physical and emotional exhaustion. It's that haunting feeling of being completely empty, cynical, and just unmotivated, even after you've supposedly rested. Understanding this distinction is absolutely crucial, because treating true burnout like you just need a quick nap, that's exactly why you're feeling stuck. Moving on to Section 2, the science of depletion. Now that we know what we're actually dealing with, that burnout isn't just a lack of sleep, let's look at the fascinating science behind why we feel this deep, lingering emptiness. The core of this deeper exhaustion is rooted in a concept called psychological depletion, sometimes known in research as ego depletion. This was first theorized by Roy Baumeister and his colleagues. I want you to imagine your willpower, your capacity for self-control, your sharp focus, and your decision-making abilities as a literal, finite mental fuel tank. It is not a bottomless well. Every single act of self-regulation draws a little bit of fuel from this tank. Resisting that craving for a donut in the break room, that's a draw. Forcing yourself to focus on a really difficult spreadsheet, that's a draw. Suppressing frustration during a tense meeting, another draw. It all comes from the exact same limited reserve. So, what happens when that mental tank hits zero? Well, the consequences are immediate and super noticeable. You start to see increased impulsivity, heavily decreased focus, and you become incredibly prone to procrastination. And it is so vital to understand that this is not a moral failing. Actually, let me repeat that. It is not just you feeling lazy. Your brain has literally run out of the mental energy it needs to function optimally. You're essentially trying to drive a car with zero gas in the engine. And a massive, undeniable contributor to draining that tank is decision fatigue. As researchers Vos and Boymister demonstrated, this simple act of making choices consumes your finite mental resources. Just think about your average morning. What are you going to wear? What's for breakfast? Which email should you answer first? How should you phrase a delicate response to a tricky client? Every single one of these choices, whether it's a huge financial investment or a completely trivial wardrobe choice, it takes a toll. By the end of the day or the week, your decision-making muscle is just totally exhausted. It's the sheer effort of choosing that leads to a profound sense of mental exhaustion. Section 3. The cost of choosing. And this brilliantly illustrates the real-world impact. Let's step out of the theoretical research for a second and look at a concrete example to really bring this science to life. Consider Mark. Mark is a solo founder running a small e-commerce business. He wakes up well-rested, energized, absolutely full of ideas. But let's track his progression. By midday, he's made creative decisions on a website design, he's intensely negotiated with a supplier, and he's resolved a pretty complex customer complaint. Notice that none of this is heavy physical labor, right? But by 3 p.m., he's sitting at his desk, paralyzed, just staring blankly at his inbox. Should he do marketing next? Customer service? Product development? Every choice suddenly feels like moving a mountain. Now, even deciding what to eat for dinner feels impossible. Mark's willpower tank is completely empty from a relentless barrage of decisions. He is quite literally psychologically depleted. Let's pause and look inward for a second. Are you over-engaging your brain when it really should be on autopilot? Think about your own daily routines right now. Are you letting every small, insignificant choice quietly drain your battery before the really important needle-moving work even begins? Section 4. Willpower Recharge Protocol.
So, the crucial point here is strategic energy management. We've identified the invisible drain on your battery. Now let's talk about the actionable solution to actually fix it. To combat this psychological depletion, we can use what the source material calls the willpower recharge protocol. It's a highly effective three-step framework. Step 1. Automate trivial decisions. Identify those small, recurring choices: what to wear, what to eat, when to check your inbox, and systemize them with routines or strict rules. Save your willpower. Step 2. Prioritize high-impact decisions. Schedule your absolute most cognitively demanding tasks for the morning when your tank is completely full, and protect that time fiercely. And step 3, strategic breaks and micro recharges. Please do not wait until you're completely exhausted. Schedule short, restorative mental resets to prevent your tank from ever hitting empty in the first place.
Section 5. 3 actionable defenses. Now, what's really interesting about this is how simple these changes are. Let's get even more practical with 3 specific daily habits you can start implementing today to build up your mental resilience. First, put yourself on a decision diet. Consciously reduce the sheer volume of choices you make. Delegate, automate, or just cleanly eliminate things that don't matter to free up bandwidth. Next, create a burnout buffer. Build consistent routines, strict boundaries between work and life, and pre-plan your week so you aren't making on-the-fly decisions constantly. And finally, this is my absolute favorite, practice mindful non-doing. We have a society obsessed with constant stimulation, right? Instead, schedule intentional time for low cognitive activities. I mean, literally staring out a window or doing some gentle stretching. Give your willpower tank the actual quiet space it needs to replenish.
Section 6. Your mental battery check.
It's time to turn the mirror on ourselves for a quick self-assessment to identify your own level of psychological depletion. Let's run through this self-test together and be perfectly honest with yourself. 1. Do you make many insignificant decisions before noon? 2. Are you frequently mentally exhausted without doing any physically demanding work? And 3. Do you find yourself heavily procrastinating or making impulsive, kind of out-of-character choices later in the day? If you mentally answered yes to any of these, you are likely experiencing psychological depletion and decision fatigue right now. And recognizing this pattern is the very first vital step to genuinely overcoming your burnout.
Let's move to our summary and see how this builds our completely new understanding of exhaustion. The core thesis here is that burnout isn't just about needing more hours in bed. It is entirely about managing your finite mental energy. By understanding the science of psychological depletion, you can finally stop treating yourself like you just need a nap and start actively conserving and strategically recharging your willpower tank.
Which brings us to our final thought. Your willpower is finite. It is a highly precious resource that dictates the quality of your work and your life. So leave you with this question to ponder. What trivial decision will you deliberately eliminate tomorrow to protect your mental energy? Thank you for joining me for this explainer. Start auditing those choices, protect your tank, and I'll see you next time.